Vice President, Maritime, International Cooperation and Foreign Projects, Captain Peshala Medagama.
Consultant, Academic Affairs and Research, Dr. Ajit Madura Peruma.
Head of Center of Quality Assurance, Mr. Ranjana Punchiheva.
Dean, Faculty of Engineering and Technology, Dr. Janaka Liyanagama.
Dean, Faculty of Management and Social Sciences, Chair Professor Lalit Edirisinghe.
Dean, Faculty of Health Sciences, Professor Manik Hettiheva.
Dean, Faculty of Marine Engineering, Chief Engineer Anjuna Ranasinghe.
Dean, Faculty of Maritime Sciences, Captain Prasanna Cedric.
Dean, Faculty of Science, Professor Samantha Veerasinghe.
Dean, Faculty of Humanities and Education, Dr. Sujiva Polgampala.
Associate Dean, Faculty of Computing, Mrs. Suranji Nadishani.
Associate Dean, Faculty of Engineering and Technology, Mr. Chandima De Silva.
Associate Dean, Faculty of Humanities and Education, Mr. Lasantha Basanayaka.
Associate Dean, Faculty of Maritime Sciences, Chief Engineer, Shane Sankaranarayana.
Associate Dean, Faculty of Marine Engineering, Chief Engineer M.N.S. Pereira.
And one author from the attendees.
Kindly join in lighting the oil lamp.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, kindly rise for the CINEC song in respect for the alma mater.
With courage and the will, you
Thank you. I now graciously invite Mrs. Suranji Nadishani, Associate Dean, Faculty of Computing, Chair CIRS 2024, to welcome the gathering.
A very good morning to all of you. It is my absolute pleasure to welcome you all to the 5th CINEC International Research Symposium, CIRS 2024. On behalf of the organizing committee, it is my distinct pleasure to extend a heartfelt welcome to all of you. Your presence is an indication of the importance of advancing knowledge through innovation, creativity, and research. Research is the keystone of the progress. It provides us with insights, tools, and strategies to shape a better future. Today, we celebrate the spirit of inquiry and the passion that drives it. This year's symposium focuses on a sustainable future, harnessing humanity through creativity and innovation. Today, we are incredibly fortunate to have with us an individual whose work has not only advanced our understanding of science, but has also inspired countless researchers worldwide. I warmly welcome our chief guest and keynote speaker, Chair Senior Professor of Chemistry, K.M. Nalindi Silva from University of Colombo. Thank you for your presence here today, sir. It is truly a privilege and honor to welcome our esteemed guest of honor, Senior Professor Ranjit Disanayaka, whose presence here today adds immense value to this event. Thank you very much for your presence today, sir. Next, I would like to warmly welcome the President, CEO of CINEC Campus, Captain Ajit Piris, for his unwavering dedication, innovative ideas, and inspiring leadership continue to pave the way for excellence and growth of our campus. May I also warmly welcome Senior Consultant Admiral Tisara Samarasinghe, two Vice Presidents, Mrs. Taranga Gamage and Captain Peshala Madagama, Consultant Academic Affairs and Research, Dr. Ajit Maduraperuma, Head of the Center of Quality Assurance, Mr. Ranjana Punchiheva, all our deans, associate deans, head of the departments, and all academic staffs, and all the plenary speakers who are attending the technical sessions today, and all the panel members who came here to support the technical sessions, all the participants and our students who will have a productive day. During the day, you will have the opportunity to attend the keynote speakers, plenary speeches, addresses by the other researchers in different disciplines, breakout sessions, and poster presentations. My dear students, we encourage you to ask questions, share your insights, and actively engage in these discussions. Your inputs is invaluable to making this event a success. Let's make this symposium be more than a platform for the presentations. I am confident that insights and the discussions we will share today will contribute meaningfully to our respective fields and beyond. Once again, welcome to CIRS 2024, and let's make this a memorable and impactful experience for all of us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam, for your kind words. CINEC Campus is delighted to organize and host CINEC International Research Symposium for the 5th consecutive time. Throughout the journey, the support and the contribution of the entire campus was incessant. On that note, this warm invitation is for the visionary leader, President, CEO of CINEC Campus, Captain Ajit Peris, to address the gathering.
Good morning. Chair Senior Professor Nalin De Silva, our chief guest today. Senior Professor Ranjit Disanayake. Professor Atula Sumatipala, who is not here, he was supposed to be here, but I was told he has sent his speech, his address, recorded here to be displayed. And Dr. Alan Richardson from Keele University in UK, who will be online delivering the address. Senior Consultant Tisara Samarasinghe, Vice Presidents Ms. Taranga and Captain Peshala, other senior members of the CINEC campus, all deans, associate deans, head of the departments, rest of the staff, and my dear students. First of all, I would like to warmly welcome once again Chair Senior Professor Nalin De Silva and Senior Professor Ranjit Disanayake to this CIRS 2024, the fifth symposium that we are conducting at these premises. First of all, I would like to thank Ms. Suranji Nadishani and her team of the Faculty of Computing and rest of the other staff who are the committee members of organizing this event. So thank you very much, Suranji, for a job well done. I hope and wish the rest of the proceedings will be successful and meaningful for all our participants. For the benefit of our guests and also the students, just want to touch base on our history. CINEC will be 35 years in few months to come. Started off in 1990 as a maritime academy for the requirement of producing well-trained Sri Lankan people to be employed on foreign ships. So from the first go, we were providing people to first-class ship owners in the world. So our quality was, from the beginning, was to be maintained and kept in order to match the standards of the world top-class shipping companies. With that background, we continue to develop our maritime programs, and we are very proud today to say in maritime industry, we are the leading maritime institution, not only in Sri Lanka, but in South Asia. So far, we have produced 350 plus ship captains, 300 plus chief engineers, so many other senior engineers and officers, 10,000 plus seafarers to this country, which has resulted in bringing much needed foreign exchange. Presently, we bring about $500 million plus per annum to our kitty in Sri Lankan government, which I think the foreign exchange is in demand. So I think we are playing a major role in doing that. We have a target of making it $1.5 billion a year, which we have given it to the government, which has approved, and I hope this project will be continued with the new regime. So all our training, when we started in 1990, was education and training was based on competence. We were producing competent people to the industry who could do a job of work. So after reaching to the top level of producing ship captains and chief engineers, our idea was to diversify into other non-marine areas. So we started off with engineering and technology, we went into management and social sciences, then we went to health sciences, we went to humanities and education, now we have computing and also science. So we have 8 faculties, out of which 6 are non-maritime. So with the introduction of non-marine programs and degree programs, we slowly got into the research culture. We started off with having tie-ups with MAS, one of the leading companies in Sri Lanka, and Orange Electric, who set up their own research centers at CINEC, which facilitate our students to get into the research area. Not only that, after that we basically started a research unit, which was headed by Professor Viranja Karunaratne, and then Chair Professor Lalit Edirisinghe, who was instrumental in getting the AHEAD project for research. And also we have produced projects which got the patent also. So that way we have basically focused on our research, and we are planning to expand our research activities in future. So the research symposium is one of the items in that whole exercise. We also communicate and dealt with the industry, and we had a lot of projects going on the engineering side, on the logistics side, and also on the maritime side. For the engineering, we were tied up with Ministry of Industries. On the logistics side, we were tied up with maritime. And maritime also, I think, we did some projects with Port of Hambantota, and we will continue to expand our research areas into this. So I think we are into a proper way of doing things, not only competence-based. I think we are also on the academic side going into research. And finally, I think all the disciplines what we have here under our roof, we will be looking at getting the research component into each and every segment. As you all know, I think we also have an aviation segment. We have started with aircraft maintenance, and now we are into cabin crew and also ground handling. We'll be starting a flying school, hopefully. I think we were planning to start by end of this year, which is not going to happen. So maybe at least by mid of next year, I'm planning to start a flying school under the CINEC. Just for your information, also I think our branches in Jaffna, Trincomalee, and suburbs of Nugegoda, we are also planning to expand into Batiklo and Gaul. We also have purchased land in Jaffna to put up our own campus. So I think that the construction will start in January. So that's our expansion program for Sri Lanka. Abroad, just for the information of our guests here, we have been manage the maritime academies in Fiji as well as in Seychelles. For the Fiji, we did for 10 years, and by end of last year, the contract was finished. And in Seychelles, we continue to manage the Maritime Academy for last 14 years. Our target for foreign development projects we are targeting Qatar, we are targeting Indonesia and South Africa. So hopefully, and also Maldives. So hopefully next year we will be having another additional foreign projects going. And then of course, those are for the information for the benefit of our guests and also for the students who are not aware of our progress. So, ladies and gentlemen, I will not take up much of your time because I think more important academic subjects to be discussed and delivered and more important things to be carried out. So, therefore, I will not take much of your time. And while thanking Suranji and the team for doing a good job and wishing you again all the very best for the rest of the day. And I would like to once again thank Senior Professor Nalin De Silva and Senior Professor Ranjit Dissanayake for attending and giving us full support to conduct this program. With these few words, I would like to wind up my speech, wishing you all the very best and good luck for the rest of the day. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for sharing your valuable thoughts with us. The presence of the leading academic and renowned researcher, Chair Senior Professor Nalin De Silva, as the keynote speaker today is a privilege. He has published over 100 science citation index papers, 4 US patents, and 4 SL patents. His present index is 38. He won the Presidential Research Award for 10 consecutive years and a National Research Award presented by National Research Council and National Science Foundation Sri Lanka. He was also named the youngest scientist of the year in 2004 by the World Academy of Science. Not only that, he received the Vice Chancellor's Award for Research Excellence in 2017, 2020, and 2023. So, this kind invitation is extended to Chair Senior Professor Nalin De Silva to deliver the keynote speech.
Thank you. That podium is important because otherwise you won't see me here. So, thank you. Thank you for your kind introduction and Captain Ajit Peris, the CEO and the President of CINEC Campus, and all other deans and senior consultant, Admiral Tisar Samasinghe, and associate deans and the invitees and academic staff members and dear students. Thank you for, again, Suranji, for inviting me, Associate Dean, the Chair of the Symposium, Associate Dean of Faculty of Computing, having me here today. And I mean, it's first time I came here. It's fantastic. I mean, wonderful. I mean, I would like to thank, it's appreciation to Captain Ajit Peris for initiating this 35 years ago as a small academy for maritime with 25 students, as you said, and now it has grown up to 20,000 students, and maybe at a given time, maybe 3,000, 4,000 students undergoing through about 200 various programs in different eight faculties. It is fantastic. I mean, I am from Columbia University, and I have a colleague here, Professor Samantha Veerasinghe and Madhura Peruma. All we work together, and we know how the university system works. Of course, we get a high Z-score students, maybe, but that doesn't mean that due to the severe competition, I strongly believe there are excellent students could not get into the university system. But these type of institutions, it is when you start in CINEC, you didn't expect to probably to go into this kind of expansion, but with the time, it has grown to now 8 faculties. So that gives our students, like all of you, to get a great opportunity to get the university education. We still have a debate on the national universities and the private universities. That I don't strictly, though I am coming from a national university as a chair professor, it should be a very competitive. The education should be competitive. Education, free education does not mean that it is free. Somebody else is free, paying for it. But you all are paying here now. For the national universities, the taxpayers are paying the university education. So ultimately, the net effect should be to the society. So in that sense, I think Captain Ajit is doing a wonderful service. I mean, my personal appreciation, and also to continue and flourish into more disciplines. And there is aviation you started, and it will expand into other areas. Thank you very much, and great to see. And my classmate, Associate Dean, Chandima De Silva, we have been knowing each other for 45 years, so you can guess our age now. So it's great, yeah. Okay, research and innovation. I don't have a written speech, but I will tell what I am thinking on how to proceed the research and innovation. If you look at how the world moves now, if somebody asks you what are the technologies that will shape up the planet in next 25 years, what would be your answer? The technologies that will shape up the planet are the biotechnology, nanotechnology, artificial intelligence, robotics, and IoTs. Those will be embedded in all other programs, in the maritime or engineering or health sciences or whatever. These 5 will be the key technologies come up in the future. I tell our students and our staff also, if you are doing a routine work and your job description has a routine work, if you are a researcher or administrator, you have a real routine work, office worker, that will be replaced in next 20 years by robots. That's going to happen. But if you are using your cognitive skills and you are innovative and so on, you can survive. So that indicates that people who are really talented cannot be replaced by AI. Because we are talking about AI. But then the research and innovation, how can transform research culture for the next 25 years. Then there is a question, the egg or the chicken. So I strongly believe to bring up a good research culture, you have all the programs, that is true. I heard from Captain Ajit that they are putting a lot of money on research now. That should be the way. The private sector partners are there now. MAS, I have worked with MAS when I was at CINEC. I have worked with Orange Electrics when I was at CINEC. They are towards research and innovation. And also I can give you an example, like you take the MIT or the Caltech. Those are technological universities. MIT and the Caltech, the 2 best universities in US for engineering and science. They started with doing 100 years ago to make products and, to give more output-based, more outcomes with research to industrial solutions. But now look at the situation after 100 years. How many Nobel Prizes they have produced? How many Nobel Prizes MIT has produced? Last 2023 Chemistry Nobel Prize, Bhavandi is from MIT. His research group has about 100 PhD students and a set of postdocs. Caltech also same thing. And there is a professor in MIT who has about 100 PhD students, and he is a owner of 100 companies, startup companies. So now it's a problem of how do we do it as a country? Where is the investment for this? We can't ask Captain Ajit to invest on a huge research ecosystem here. It will evolve with the time. It should evolve with the time. So then what is the experience that we can gain from MIT or Caltech, or you take the neighboring country, IIT Bombay or IIT Madras? And the same model that the Sri Lanka government implemented, then they wanted to put IFS. I remember it's about 1970s, Mr. J.R. Jayawardena wanted to have IFS. Same model as the Indian Institute of Technology. So there is a problem of now the investment. Egg or the chicken, the fundamental research or the applied research. The industry, I have to tell you point blank, our industry in this country is not worried, not concerned about any research, any proper research. They want product-oriented research. That is true. That is what we need. Yes, that is what we need. We need because their bandwidth for, except for MAS and the Orange, they are the MAS. I have worked with Mahesh Amalin. They have a huge research team, 100 research, because they are huge research budget. But if you look at the other companies, they are just, their research budget is not that great. But they will fund something for you to develop a product or something like that. But then comes a problem. Where is our fundamental knowledge to do great things? Who is going to invest on fundamental research that will lead to innovations? Innovator, now there was a discussion in Facebook, do you need a degree to become an innovator? I can agree partially. To become an innovator, you don't need a degree. I was working at NSF as in a committee as a chairing, and we had innovation programs. There are villagers who come up with innovations without any science knowledge. Something. When the wheel was invented, he didn't have a degree, right? So that the innovation can be done. But then we talk about the sustainability. How can you sustain that innovation culture? So there must be something called the risk factor. There is a risk in investment. As a country, we don't have the bandwidth to take that risk. So what we do always is we import the knowledge. So that part is the missing part of our puzzle. Fundamental research, that you generate knowledge internally and you can be a great innovator. You look at Elon Musk. People laugh at him, then they try to go to Mars. But look at what he is doing here. So he has SpaceX, or you Tesla, the richest person in the world. How much money out of his $300 billion US, how much money he puts on developing materials, to developing the technology, to develop the AI, to develop the robotics. Now you can say he has, but if you look at he says, I have listened to him many times, 1990s when he started with a small garage type of thing, like the Steve Jobs or whatever, the billionaires. So that's a 30 years journey that they have come across. They had a vision for that. They had a vision because the innovations cannot be sustainable without a strong fundamental science. That is where the drawing, the line of demarcation. So that is, if you look at our neighbors, India, put in a lot of money. So the research and innovation, it should be it associates a lot of risk. You might, now if you look at the Korea, I met a professor in Korea, the Korean professor. So we used to call poor people Korea 35 years ago. Because at that time GDP per capita in Sri Lanka was better than the Korean GDP per capita. Better than the Singapore GDP per capita. Now what has happened? Our GDP per capita, if we want to make very happy, we can say $4,000. I don't think it's $4,000 because the rupee depreciated 50% a couple of years back. So maybe, let's say $4,000. The Korea GDP per capita is now $30,000. The Singapore $55,000. How can they become like that. That's basically on science and technology. So there is no future for our country without science and technology. Science and technology is a broad area. I'm not going to confine into only science, my discipline. No. Because I'm not only chemistry, I do a lot of biomedical sciences and engineering and medicine and all kind of research. So that is where they put money. So the Korean professor, he said, I asked, what is the percentage of commercialization of your research? He said 4%. In Korea, it's 4%. That means if you do 100 projects, only 4 will be commercialized. I remember when I was CINEC, we got the pressure from the government and the other administrators. You have 2 projects, commercialize both projects. Then we had to, as scientists, we had to tell them it's not possible. Then that means, if it is possible, means you are targeting something and you are achieving that. That is not innovation. That is the product development. Innovation is completely different ball game. So there is a risk factor on the fundamental science, investment on fundamental science. So there is something called the innovation death valley when you do it. Your fundamental research, that's a lab level, any discipline. And then go to the prototyping, and then go to the large scale, and that is where you are going there. It's called the innovation death valley. It can fall at any point. Then you go to the product development. With Orange Electrics, we developed a product, all went through, and CFL bulbs, and a coating for CFL bulb to reduce the UV emission. All of a sudden, LED came. So the project finished. So that is what, because at the market level, product fails. So that going through that, the lab to the consumer, it's 4% in Korea. So we as researchers should understand that. To compensate that, the last NRC Council under Professor Janaka De Silva, they implemented a program called mega grants. 50 million grants for researcher, allowing them to do PhDs, but there must be a product also. So that grant, you work with the company and with the researchers. So you produce PhDs and you produce the products also. Because there you go through the fundamentals and you gear to a product that is a 5-year project. So that is my experience in research. And as state universities, it is difficult because the bandwidth for fundamental research is not that great. So the tendency in local universities also going for product development. The radio and everywhere we say there is a bio-claim that we did it. Okay, now it's been sold. That looks great to Columbia University. But as a scientist, it doesn't look great to me. Because I call it bucket chemistry. You mix A and B, you get a product. There is no chemistry there. At least something is better than nothing. That we can be happy. Columbia University Faculty of Science developed a product. It is being marketed by Darty Butler, so everybody is using. That's good. Where is the science? So what will happen is we will keep on doing this kind of product development without any fundamental science. So always we have to import the knowledge. So when it comes to nanotechnology or the biotechnology, there were industrial revolutions came. In 1900, planet had about 1 billion people. People believed that we can't have 3 billion people. But 3 billion people were occupied in 1940s because they didn't know about 1900, about industrial revolutions and other technologies that will come up. So 1940s, after the Second World War, a lot of innovations came and the engines created and the all steam engines, all innovations came. Then 1970s, the IT wave came. So always the biotechnology wave came. Because our lifespan was in 1900, maybe 50 years. Now it's about 90, 80. We can live on drugs also, right? So therefore, all technology revolutions, my personal point of view is we miss that all technology revolutions. We have best computer scientists in this world. But how much the world economy we are contributing? That's a question mark. Because we didn't have a vision as a country for that. As you said, Captain Ajit, Peiris, that we have to see this new regime, whether bring that vision for the research culture. So I'm not going to talk much because I can keep on talking on this research and innovation for a long time. I think my time is over now. And also extremely sorry that you mentioned about the Vice Chancellor's Award 2023. Today evening I am getting the postgraduate convocation. And I have to leave because of the postgraduate convocation. When Chandima and Suranji invited me, I couldn't say no. And I wish you all the very best, all the organizers and the Captain Ajit and Admiral Tisara and all the deans and the associate deans and the students and having me here. And I'll be very happy to contribute for anything because I personally like private education that will open up a lot of opportunities for students, and that will create a real competitive ecosystem in this country. The local universities are in competition then with the private universities. That will, when you have I strongly believe the peer pressure will create the better institutions, better society. So thank you very much and all the best for your symposium. Thank you.
Sir, I kindly request you to remain on the stage. Thank you, sir, for your remarkable presentation. Again, I kindly request, sir, you to be on the stage, please. We sincerely appreciate your exceptional service towards science and innovation.
I would now like to invite our esteemed President, Captain Ajit Peiris, Senior Consultant, Admiral Tisara Samarasinghe, Vice Presidents, Captain Peshala Medagama and Mrs. Taranga Gamage, and Consultant, Academic Affairs and Research, Dr. Ajit Madurapperuma, accompanied by Symposium Chair, Mrs. Suranji Nadisani, on stage to present the token of appreciation to our keynote speaker.
I invite our keynote speaker, Chair Senior Professor Nalin De Silva, to come forward and appreciate our gratitude for your inspiring contribution. Father James Keller once said, "Candle loses nothing by lighting another candle." So this is high time to get ready to lighten up with another vibrant, iconic researcher, Senior Professor Ranjit Disanayake. He was awarded the Youngest Scientist Award in 2007 in the Excellence Scientific Research by the National Science and Technology Commission of Sri Lanka. He received the Overseas Prize of the Institution of Civil Engineers in the UK in 2007 and the Australia Alumni Excellence Award in 2012. He is co-chairing the 15th International Conference on Sustainable Built Environment at Kandy and the 2nd International Conference on University-Industry Collaboration for Sustainable Development at Colombo. This kind invitation is extended to guest of honor Senior Professor Ranjit Disanayake to address the gathering.
Captain Ajit Peiris, Chairman CINEC, Chief Guest, Professor Nalin Silva, and the Professor Jana Kalinagi, who invited me for this occasion, and all the deans and the staff and the students, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It's a great pleasure for me to come here as a guest of honor. So I do have a presentation to share with you this morning. I thought that driving the socio-economic development through the entrepreneurships and the green innovation is very important. I believe that the digitally supported green innovation and entrepreneurships is the promising pathway to sustainable development in Sri Lanka. This is what I believe and this is what I work in for. Through this presentation, I try to convince how I am trying to practice what I believe. I believe there are many universities, many research institutes, but there are so many issues in the country. Like I see that when I entered the University of Peradeniya in 1983, there was 2 engineering faculties in this country, but today more than 10, including the private sector institute. Something that I notice is that the common man who I met at the street is suffering much more than the 1983. That means the government has been spending the huge money on the private the state's education. That means the people, common man, spend a lot of money for us to the research, education, and so forth. But the people are suffering much more than what we are. That means the bridge has not been well connected. That is what I believe. So therefore, I believe that in order to provide the support for the social need, we not only innovation, but also we have to get together with the entrepreneurs and make sure that the bridge will be completed. Then the common man start to laugh in the society. So when the innovation and the entrepreneurships get together, it can come as industries, it can come as agriculture or the service. But it doesn't make any sense if the people are in the city, society, village are not happy. Well, then they get happy. That means that we can see that benefit will go to the common man. This is we call as a socio-economic development. Because of this socio-economic development, there will be economic growth in the society. So that is what we need. It's a very interesting and important cycle to be completed. So then we can see that in the society, like in a developed nation, you can walk freely, clean air, the security, education, I can keep on. Everything is there. So that is what we need at the end of the day, socio-economic development. So we are talking about sustainability. As you all know, that the sustainability is supported by the 3 important pillars. That is social, environment, and economic. So what is happening right now today, as somebody who walks every day in the morning, I see that every day you get new plastic, new garbage in the road, the water bodies and so forth. That is the main reason maybe the president is declaring the clean Sri Lanka. So that means who sent this? Because we throw them away. When it is raining, it comes to the water bodies and so forth. There is a huge threat for the environment. When you go to the next one, youth, including the youth, according to the data, it says that 57 of 100 want to leave this country. But again, they say that the 30% of them, they don't want to come back to Sri Lanka. So that is the social status of the country. And economically, I don't have to tell you that we have been in the queue very recently. Right? So there I see that all 3 pillars has broken down. There is no sustainability or sustainable development. Mainly the economic pillar. So I've been an engineer, but I look into the little more information about why it has happened, where the solution is there. So I see that in order to bring back the sustainability, we need the innovation. Our chief guest very correctly said, and getting together with the entrepreneurs, we have to pull that into the pathway of socio-economic development. It is very, very important that the economic pillar must be strengthened. It doesn't matter if the economic pillar is not supported, you can't have the better environment, cleaner Sri Lanka, and you can't expect a society. People are leaving, people are frustrated. But in order to strengthen this socio-economic development, we need to have the good GDP and the literature and the employment and so forth. So there, again, I truly believe, as our chief guest said, the innovation and entrepreneurship must get together. So this is our World Happiness Index. We cannot be happy. That is what I said, that I see that the people who I met on the street in 1983 are happier than what I see today. So when you look into the detail about how we can bring the happiness, some of the data, it's this list, thus I am not going to go into the detail that you can read, but I see something in between these three out of the 6 main items. Again, that can be supported by of course, innovation, R&D, and technology and digital innovation and so forth. That means, again, it is a link up with the innovation and entrepreneurships. Why it happened to us, the Sri Lanka, as Chief Guest said, that how we were treated in the Korea, right? We were like the big, about several years ago, what has happened to us? But we as a nation, we depend on the more and more import than export, as well as even through the pre-economic, even some of the companies could not compete with what we import. Some of the things that we produce here, when we spend like the 100 rupees, the same thing can be purchased from China, maybe 50 rupees. It is the threat not to the Sri Lanka, but to the world. But we need the policies there to protect our investors and entrepreneurs and so forth. But anyway, we missed the deal, but we have been used to it. But if we go a little bit into the detail, so starting from even the 1986, every day we earn less than what we spend. It is even for the single person, family, village, country, it happen. But we have been very nicely managed it artificially. But I believe, fortunately, we believe, unfortunately, because of the COVID, we really understand where we are. This is what happened during the COVID. Because we wanted to import more things. Some of our income could not manage. There was a time the petroleum or the petrol has come to the country. We don't have the money to buy it. Very simple. So that we had a lot of queues. So we really understand that we are not earning the money or the dollar to buy what we want. We have been doing it artificially. Even today we do it artificially. But I think according to the statistics, to run the country for a day, we need the 15 billion rupees. But we are earning like less than 11 billion, because every day we are losing the 4 billion rupees even today. It has not changed. So that means we are postponing different way, buying various things. The real situation is that we every night, next day morning, we end up with the 4 billion lost to this country. So this is what we stopped. Still we stopped the import of the vehicle, and we went up to the 13.5 hours of power cut. But now we are artificially managing them. And a lot of queues are there, right? But we are getting the IMF is mean. I believe it is artificial. It is not the real. Really, we don't want the IMF. So, but if you want to transform this country, but I would like to see that, right? That's what we have been in the country, having studies around the world. But we believe that this is a beautiful country. We have nearly 50, 60 countries we have traveled. But still, I believe one of the most beautiful country I have seen in this world. So in order to transform this country, this is the part of the port city to become. I do believe innovation and entrepreneurship is the promising pathway. So this is the theoretical, we are academically, we think theoretically. What is the theoretical situation? We have to systematically reduce the import. It should be systematically. And while improving the export, then we can earn for the day and live for the day. Of course, then loan component, so forth is there. This is theory. In order to achieve this, theoretically, we have to go for the renewable energy sector, and then the manufacturing, then local materials. We are a country where a lot of material we are not utilized our local material. Then circular economy, very important, and the sustainable agriculture and the business process outsourcing is a good business. It's very, very important that we go for the digital transformation. Government is very committed for that. So then this kind of benefit that we can receive to the nation by adding that. And I'm not going to explain it, but I'll go to the next slide. So this is what happening right now. We bring more things than we are sending the less. Right? So, as Chief Guest mentioned, he was talking about the fundamental research. This is very important. Then we have to go for the applied research. So, applied research always comes up with innovation. So, our universities are flooded with the theses and finding and many things. You can remember during the COVID, so many innovations are coming. What has happened to them now? No, nobody's there. So that we are good at the innovate something, but as he mentioned that nearly 4% can be product, come into the market. That is true. Then with the help of the entrepreneurs, only we can bring the wealth to the nation. Then you can change that. You can send more things, bring less things. That is what China did. That is what the Korea did. But the Singapore model and some models are different, but we have to find out our model. So this cycle should be continuous. That is, the research and innovation are important, but unless otherwise you link with the entrepreneur, there is no effect to the nation. So ground reality, some of the area, like for example, we have the titanium dioxide. I'm not going into detail, just information. There are raw material available in the country. So one area is what we do, use the 45% for the use for the paint industry. So paint is the titanium dioxide is there. What we do, it is a collecting every year. Right? So what we do is we send the bulk, we bring the paint, but in order to bring the paint, we spend much more than what we get from the bulk. But there is a potential income of 40 million. Why it has happened? I being the entrepreneur, I know that when we try to work through our customs and our bureaucratic system, if you try to invest something, do something, end of the day you feel it is better to sell the raw material and earn some money rather than fighting with the people in the customs and the officers and so forth. That is the big change that we need to have. Because universities can come up with innovation and so forth, unless otherwise policies change, it cannot be done. They are actually, I believe, the innovation enterprise is very important. I'm not going about talking about titanium dioxide. I'm talking about the raw material must be processed and value added and so forth. The ground reality is that we have been selling the tea, rubber, coconut. But see the amount of the money available in the world market when you look at this graph. There are periods coming like the electronic, IT, telecommunication, bioproduct and nanoproduct. The chief guest very correctly said that. But now it may be AI. Do we understand what is going to be in 2025? Maybe chief guest gives some ideas. So as a country, we have to understand what is going to be the next market in the world, and we have to get ready for that market. When the market world demand the product, if you sell it, you can sell it to the 1,000 rupees, otherwise you will have to send 100 rupees. Because if you right now produce something, electronic item, it costs like the 2,000 rupees, but China will give you the 50 rupees or less. Therefore, there is no market for us to electronic, IT or telecom, but we have to find out the next market. That is coming through the research centers and so forth. So there it is important to understand innovation and entrepreneurship. Of course, we have to understand the next market. We do have the very hardworking people, very talented and very innovative, but lack in the entrepreneurships. So I always see, being in the university system last 25 years, there is a gap between our research and application and innovation. That is, it dead somewhere. So it is very, very important to continue this cycle with the entrepreneurships. This is very, very important that I explained to you earlier. Right. Just before ending, let me talk about the walk to the talk. So I have developed the center called Gap Headquarters. So where I understand that we should bridge the gap between the academia and the industry. So where my vision as I started, so green, innovation, green means sustainability, and entrepreneurships, of course, supported by the digitally supported. So what the office is based in the Colombo Zone, Vidya Mawata. We call it a headquarters for the research commercialization. What we do is we start with the startup, usual way, and we convert them to the companies. We have developed more than 5 companies. So let me explain about the one company. My basic research in the structural health monitoring, very simple, say that understand the health of the structure. So earlier, I see that most of the old structures are replaced without understanding whether it is good or bad. So we develop a lot of theories and methodologies to understand the health of the structure. So rather than replacing the structures, this is the one of the bridge that was replaced, that was decided to replace. So not after that, we developed the company in 2010. 2 of my students still working. They are one of them PhD student and MPhil student. So we have provide the services for the most of the building and bridges and structures, especially most of the old structures in the Colombo city. So this is one of the building that want to demolish and come up with a new building. So the original decision was to demolish. This is in the Kandy. But we said that you don't have to demolish it. We will check the building and we will do the needful. So we dropped the part of demolition. We brought this is the Kandy City Center multiplex. So that was developed within the existing structure, not demolishing the structures. One of the popular designation in Kandy. So next one, we have a company to strategic development. This is one of the $50 million investment coming to Sri Lanka to airport, hotel and parking. So this is another product that we have developed. This is from the fly ash. So what we did also, there is a huge problem in the Norachole because of the fly ash collection. So what we did was, when the how the fly ash is generated, there are two problems. One is the carbon dioxide emission, the other one is ash. So what we did was, that is not the new finding, this is an adaptation of the world technology, adaptation and innovation and sustainability. So in order we adapt it, we did the plural studies and we understand that there are issues, then we corrected it so that we produced that brick. So that is now in the market because of we developed the company called Lanka IC Private Limited. Now it's a 50% share with the Access Engineering Private Limited. So that is the purely 65% is the material is the waste that is produced from the Norachole power plant. So this is the construction. So we not only see that we in academia, we see the lot of gap between the various. One area what we see is the gap in the sustainable built environment. Sustainability is very important. We started the first international conference 2010 in Kandy, but this year we are going to have the 15th international conference. Similarly, we see we have been published in the Springer Nature now, and we see a gap between the academia and the industry again. We could get the Pew International Grant, Erasmus Grant, and now we are working for that one. We have another conference to facilitate the university industry collaboration. And with that, I would like to say thank you and wish you all the best for the day. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now Dr. Alan Richardson is joining with us virtually. At Keele School of Pharmacy, he is lead teaching of pharmacology and oncology. His research interests focus on discovering new therapeutic targets and drugs for the treatments of ovarian and breast cancer. Next, respectful invitation is extended to Dr. Alan Richardson, pharmacology lead and group lead of Cancer Research Group, Keele University, to address the gathering. Pharmacy, he is lead teaching of pharmacology and oncology. His research interests focus on discovering new therapeutic targets and drugs for the treatments of ovarian and breast cancer. Next, respectful invitation is extended to Dr. Alan Richardson, pharmacology lead and group lead of Cancer Research Group, Keele University, to address the gathering.
Thank you very much indeed, and hopefully you can hear me. Can you hear me there? Hopefully you can hear me. Oh, you can hear me, fantastic. Okay, super. Right, so I'm going to talk to you today about why we haven't cured cancer yet. So let me just make that full screen. There we go. So first of all, thank you very much for the invitation. I really appreciate it. I wish I could be there, but I'm afraid not at this time, maybe another time. So why haven't we cured cancer yet? So the answer to that is actually, in some cases, we have. So this diagram is taken from Cancer Research UK, and it looks at the overall the chances of surviving cancer and how it's changed from 1970 to now. And you can see that in some cancers we actually do pretty well. So if we look at testicular cancer, for example, most people survive that. And in the case of melanoma, we've got a lot better. So we've gone from about 50% of people surviving now to perhaps maybe 80 or 90%. But in some cancers, if you look down at lung cancer down here and or pancreatic, we do a lot better. A lot worse, sorry. Relatively few people survive those. And overall, maybe 50% of people survive cancer. So we've got a way to go. And this kind of contrasts from where we thought we were going to be 20 years ago. So this is my copy of Time from 2001. And a new drug had just been developed called Gleevec, and it had shown really fantastic success in treating a type of leukemia. And we thought we were going to beat cancer. And it turned out that we weren't quite as successful as we hoped we were going to be back then. And this review caught my eye. This was published in Nature Reviews Cancer in August this year, so just recently. And it was discussing the question, why do patients die of cancer? And I think it's really striking that in 2024, we're still asking ourselves, well, why do people actually die of cancer? So perhaps if we're still wondering that, it's not surprising that we haven't fully cured it yet. Now I wanted to show you this diagram to give you a sense of what success looks like when we're developing new therapies to treat cancer. This is the report of a clinical trial of a drug called capivasertib. It's used to treat breast cancer. It was approved about a year ago. And this is the data showing how well the drug did when it's tested. And so this is the percentage of patients that survived, and this is how long they were treated with the drug. And the blue line here is patients who received chemotherapy, and the orange line is chemotherapy plus the new drug. And you can see the new drug increases the number of patients that are alive. So if you look at 18 months, maybe without the new drug, 60% of patients are alive. Whereas if you add in the new drug, 75% are. So that's very encouraging. But if you look at this, actually you're only extending life expectancy probably by a matter of months rather than years. Now please don't think I'm being negative about this drug. The point I want to make is this is really very common for our new therapies. When they're successful, oftentimes they only extend life expectancy by a matter of months rather than the years. It's not always true, but it's quite often true. So perhaps that helps us understand why we haven't fully cured cancer yet. Now, because I'm speaking to a general audience, I wanted to go over three concepts really quickly that are important to the rest of the talk. And I apologize if this is very obvious to some of you in the audience. So an oncogene is a gene which, when it gets switched on, converts a normal cell into a cancer cell. A tumor suppressor is kind of the opposite of that. It's a gene that prevents a normal cell becoming cancerous, so it suppresses cancer forming, as the name suggests. Then we often talk about things called driver genes, and these are the genes that are actually causing the cancer. They're driving the cancer, and that could come about because an oncogene's been activated or we've lost a tumor suppressor. Now, I also would like to just talk about two types of therapy, two types of drug. When we talk about chemotherapy, chemotherapy is oftentimes a toxic drug, but it preferentially kills cells that are rapidly growing, such as cancer cells. But it's a toxic drug. That contrasts with a lot of the newer therapies, which are what we call targeted therapy. And the targeted therapies work by inhibiting a particular driver gene that's causing the cancer. And so it's more specific, if you like. Okay, so that's the background. Let's talk about why we haven't cured cancer yet fully. And the first reason, in my opinion, is it's actually an intrinsically difficult problem. So if you think about what cancer is, it's a disease of our own bodies. It's our own body going wrong. And so we've got to get rid of the cancer without damaging our own body. Now that contrasts with, say, having a bacterial infection. Imagine you've got a patient with a bacterial infection, we've got to make a drug to kill off this bacterium. That's very different to us. So it's relatively easy to get a drug that specifically targets a bacteria without damaging our cells. Whereas if we're treating with cancer, we have the problem that we want to target the cancer and leave the normal cells intact. So it's intrinsically a difficult problem to solve. The second reason, I think, is that there are a large number of driver genes. So this is a study from Richard Hilston's group from earlier this year, and he sequenced the genome of around about 10,000 cancers. And he identified 330 driver genes. So there's 330 ways you can cause a cancer. Other people have made a similar estimate, done similar studies, and they've come up with maybe 500, but it's the same order of magnitude. Maybe 300 to 500 genes can cause cancer. And yet, if you look at those, only about 20 of them are things that we're currently working on to treat cancer. So we actually have a long way to go in terms of developing therapies. So that's perhaps also contributing to why we haven't fully cured cancer yet. And then some of the targets we'd like to work on are intrinsically difficult to drug. So they're hard to make drugs to turn them off or turn them on. So if you think about P53, that's probably the most commonly mutated tumor suppressor in cancer. That was identified as contributing to cancer in 1979. Yet we've got no drugs that target it in 2024. That's 40 years later. My maths is right, over 40 years later. Another gene that's often activated in cancer is called Wnt. That was identified as having a role in cancer in 1984. And again, we've got no drugs approved to target the Wnt pathway. Things are a little bit better with a drug called RAS. That's probably the most commonly mutated oncogene in cancer. It was identified as, and the gene was identified in 1982, but it took to 2021 to come up with the first drug, so almost 40 years, a long, long time. We also know that cancer cells alter their metabolism. They reprogram their metabolic pathways. And this was actually identified first by a guy called Otto Warburg in Germany in 1926, so almost 100 years ago now. And even now, we've only got a small number of drugs that target metabolic pathways. So again, that's an intrinsically difficult thing to target and to treat cancer. Now, things aren't all bad. We've had a lot of success targeting kinases. So these are a type of gene that drive cancer. And their role in cancer was first identified in 1978. And now we've got around about 80 approved drugs that target kinases. So things aren't all gloomy, but a lot of the things that we'd like to target are actually quite difficult. Now, the next reason that we struggle to treat cancer is that cancer is heterogeneous. So let me show you what I mean by that. So this is supposed to represent a tumor, and the white circles around the outside are supposed to represent the normal cells in the body, and the green cells in the middle are the tumor cells. And I've colored them green. Let's imagine that in all of these cells, they're driven by one particular driver, and let's call it a green gene, just to make it visually understandable. So the tumor's probably going to pick up additional mutations. So you might get the yellow mutation or the brown mutation as well. So tumors are actually heterogeneous. They've got multiple driver genes in them causing the cancer. They don't often look like this, where there's only one driver gene. And this heterogeneity can occur either inside tumors or when you compare tumors. So here's a second tumor. This might be a second tumor in one patient, or it might be in a different patient. And you can see that there are a different set of driver genes switched on. So that means we might need different drugs to treat this tumor than we do to treat this tumor. Now, if this, and I wanted to show you this slide here to show you that, this diagram here to show you that this heterogeneity can be picked up by sequencing genomes. So this diagram here shows the number of mutations in a patient's tumor. So each dot is one person's tumor, and the numbers here represent how many mutations there are per million bases. So this dot here means there's around about 300 mutations per million bases, and this tumor over here has only got one mutation per million bases. So you can see that these tumors, these are melanomas, vary drastically in the number of mutations they've got. And if you compare that down to this cancer down here, type of brain cancer, there's obviously an awful lot fewer mutations. So we can see this heterogeneity even in the number of mutations that are present in a tumor. Now, if I were to say the one take-home message I wanted you to take away from today's presentation about why we have trouble treating cancer, it's that cancers can evolve. And when we put selective pressure on them, they evolve. Let me show you what I mean. So imagine we've got this tumor. It's predominantly driven by the green driver gene, but there's also some other cells in the tumor that are driven by the brown driver gene and the and the yellow driver gene. So we decide we're going to treat this with a drug that targets the green cells. And so they shrink. So the tumor shrinks, that's great. But maybe some of the green cells are left. We didn't get them all. So over time, the tumor comes back. And now the yellow cells and the brown cells and the green cells have all grown again. So we now try the green drug again to try and kill the cells that are driven by the green driver gene. And this time we only wipe out the green cells because this is targeted therapy. It's only targeting the green cells. So we get a partial response. The patient's tumor shrinks a bit, but it doesn't go away entirely. So that tumor is going to grow over time. Excuse me. And now we've got plenty of the brown and the yellow cells, and maybe there's another mutation turned up, this kind of lilac driver. So maybe we're going to now treat that with a drug targeting the yellow cells, so they'll shrink. Okay, that's fantastic. The tumor looks like it's responding again. Only shrinks partially because we've only killed off the yellow ones. And over time, that now grows back again. And so now we've got plenty of the lilac cells and plenty of the brown cells. And maybe we've got an additional mutation where we've picked up the cells with a blue gene getting switched on. And so, of course, we might now go and treat that with a brown drug or drug targeting the brown cells, and that the tumor shrinks. But so you get the idea. This can go on again forever. It can go on forever, essentially, until we've been through all 330 driver genes. But at some point, we're going to run out of drugs, and so that means ultimately we're going to lose this battle. So, to my mind, one of the key reasons we fail to treat cancer as effectively as we'd like is that tumors are heterogeneous and they evolve when we add drugs to them to try and treat them. This is a real example, so rather than looking at little blobs. So the thing in green here is a particular enzyme, a particular protein called the EGF receptor. It can drive lung cancer and breast cancer. And the drug in blue here is a drug called gefetinib. It inhibits it quite nicely. But what can happen is that this amino acid in the protein can mutate. When it mutates, it looks like this. And you can imagine that's going to clash with the blue drug, and the blue drug doesn't work anymore. And the cells become resistant to this drug. And we have to use a second drug that will bind even though this mutation's taken place. So that's a very real example that occurs clinically every day. Now we have some cause for optimism because we've developed new technologies to address this issue. So for example, we've got very good at sequencing DNA, and we're now up to what's called the third generation. So we can sequence a patient's genome and identify the driver genes and figure out which drugs to use. And we've also got technologies to look at heterogeneity. So this is an image of a tumor cell, and we've looked at which genes are switched on. It's come from this publication here. They've looked at which genes are switched on, and therefore grouped the cells into cells that look very similar. So maybe the ones in blue are all driven by a particular driver gene, for example. That's a possibility. So we can begin to understand the spatial heterogeneity that occurs in a tumor and select therapy accordingly. So that's a great thing. And we can do that by looking at which genes are turned on, or we've now got automated methods to look at which proteins are being produced. So doing something very similar, but this is looking at protein rather than the genes that are switched on. So I think these are new technologies that will help to address that problem. Now, there's another problem that we need to think about when we're worrying about trying to treat cancer. And I've taken this diagram from an excellent review from Crosby and his co-workers. And that problem is the one about the need for early detection and early treatment. So the key point here is that about half of the cancers that we detect are detected when they're already quite advanced. And that's an issue because we want to treat cancers early on. Treatment's much more effective if you catch a cancer early on. So we need a way to pick up people who have got cancer when the cancer is really just starting to develop. So we need a screening method. And so Crosby and his colleagues identified 5 challenges. The ones I'm going to focus on today is, we need to know who's at risk, so we need to know who to test. We need to have some type of marker to pick up the cancer, measure something so we can identify the cancer. And then we need the technology to support that. And so once we've done that, we can then test those technologies and see if they actually do improve overall survival. So early detection I think is incredibly important. And if you ask me to where to spend my money in cancer research, I'd put a lot of it into early detection and early treatment. And then the next reason I think we haven't fully cured cancer yet is a bit embarrassing, because I'm a laboratory scientist and I think the laboratory models we use are actually inadequate. So this is typically what happens in cancer. You do some studies in cancer research, you do some studies in the lab, you come up with an idea to make a drug, you test it in animals, suppose it works, so it goes into patients and it's tested in a clinical trial. And if that clinical trial is successful, that drug then gets approved and is used in the general population who have got cancer. That's great. The thing that might surprise you, and this is the kind of the shocking figure, only 10% of drugs that enter clinical trials actually succeed and become an approved drug. So that's a 90% failure rate, which is really terrible. It's something we need to fix. One of the reasons, I think, is because our laboratory studies at the beginning are insufficiently predictive of what actually happens in the clinical trial. And perhaps you can understand why that is by looking at this diagram. So this is a real tumor in a patient, and this is what we look at in the lab. In the lab, we've got the cells growing in this flask. It's made out of plastic, and the cells are growing on the bottom on a flat surface. There's probably only one cell type in there. The cells are growing in a nutrient-enriched medium to make them grow fast. It's a neutral pH, and it's grown in atmospheric oxygen. Whereas in reality, tumors are 3D constructs. They grow on extracellular matrix proteins. There are numerous cell types present in this tumor. It's growing in extracellular fluid, which isn't packed with growth factors the way this is. Sometimes they're acidic, and they grow actually in a lot lower oxygen concentration because our body isn't exposed to atmospheric oxygen. And so what we really need to do is come up with better models of cancer, and hopefully that would then improve the success rate of drugs in clinical trials. And then the last thing I'd point to for why we haven't been as successful as we'd like to be in treating cancer are human factors. So it costs a lot to make drugs. It's about £2 billion to make a drug, and it probably takes 10 to 15 years. So that's obviously going to take us some time and a lot of money to work through all the 330 driver genes that we know exist. Then we have a kind of cultural problem, I think, in science. We get caught up in the dogma and the latest trends, and sometimes we think what's new is always going to be the answer to our problems, and what's old is perhaps something to be forgotten about. And I'm not sure that I think that's a great idea. We need to not forget where we've come from and look at new discoveries with excitement, but also with a bit of caution sometimes. And then the career structure for scientists isn't set up in a way to actually to encourage people to do the right experiments all the time. People like me are rewarded for publishing papers and getting in grant funding. We're less rewarded for doing studies that lead to a new drug, for example, because that takes a lot of time. And the other issue, of course, is that we've now seen in science what we call the crisis of reproducibility. So there's a large number of papers that have been published that turn out not to be reproducible. So maybe they've been rushed through because of the need for scientists to demonstrate how good they are. Then I think we've got a problem around funding clinical research, testing drugs in patients. If you think about it, when a pharmaceutical company develops a drug, the way they make their money is by selling the drug. And they can do that because they can write a patent to protect their drug and make money from selling the drug. But after a period of time, the patent lapses. And that creates a problem, because if a drug fails in the clinical trial, the patent's got very little time left. So there's no motivation to go back and look at that drug again and say, well, could we try using it in a different way? Because even if you did that, your patent would only have a short period left, and so you'd only got a short period to make any money. And then there's another issue. One of the ideas in cancer therapy is, can we repurpose drugs that are used to treat other diseases and use them to treat cancer? So, for example, I think statins can be used to treat cancer. But the question is, if these drugs are now off patent, who's going to pay for those clinical trials? Because the pharmaceutical companies can't make any money out of it because their patent's lapsed. And then healthcare is getting very expensive. I don't know what it's like in Sri Lanka, but in the UK, we've got a major problem funding healthcare. All these new technologies come at a cost, the new drugs come at a cost. And if we're going to use the type of model I showed in one of the earlier slides about sequentially treating patients with different drugs, we've got to have the infrastructure to support that. And then lastly, I think there are regulatory hurdles for using these targeted therapies. So for example, if you sequence a patient's genome and identify particular genes driving that cancer, what data do you need? What do you need to make a decision to actually use that drug to treat the patient? Do you actually need data from a clinical trial that shows it works? Or can you just say, well, okay, look, I know this gene is switched on. I think it's going to be driving the cancer. Let's use a drug that targets that gene. So we need to think about the regulation of the use of medicines and how we can change that to be more effective. So thank you very much for your attention. The work in my lab is being funded by the people shown on this screen, although I haven't shown you my own research today. But thank you so much for the opportunity to talk today.
Thank you, sir, for your impressive presentation. Wishing you the very best in your future endeavors. Next, we have an expert in bioethics, Professor Atula Sumatipala. Unfortunately, he is unable to attend the symposium today. He is the chairman of the National Institute of Fundamental Studies Sri Lanka and director of the Institute of Research and Development in Health and Social Care Sri Lanka. Professor Sumatipala has a wide range of expertise and experience in leading scientific research in the United Kingdom, Sri Lanka, and broader South Asian context. In addition to research ethics, he is internationally recognized in the fields of mental health and twin research. Now, please pay your attention to the video recorded speech of Professor Atula Sumatipala.
Good morning to everybody for this International Research Symposium held at CINEC campus. I was invited through Keele University, where I hold an emeritus professorship on psychiatry. The symposium theme is Sustainable
If there's
Future,
any questions, I'm happy to
Harnessing
answer them, but I
Humanity
can't actually hear
through
anything,
Creativity and Innovation. Therefore, I chose to talk about culture shift research for people's benefit.
Is lead teaching of pharmacology
Academic
and
excellence. What's in it for me? PhD, graduations, patents, job promotions, citations, travel abroad, conferences. But what's there beyond us? That's what I'm going to talk about, culture shift for research for people's benefit. Beyond us, why? Because we are publicly educated, most of us. We use public funding for research and academic purposes, public knowledge, and therefore we are accountable as much as the politicians are accountable to the public. Culture shift for people benefit. The target is attitude change. That changes everything. A bad attitude is like a flat tire. You can't go anywhere without changing. Change internally, change externally. That's where the leaders are needed. Action without vision is only passing time. Vision without action is merely a daydream. But vision with action can change the world. For that, you need a team. In a team, there are visionaries, theoreticians, activists, and pragmatists. We should include all of them because one person wouldn't have all these attributes. There's a big difference between the leaders and the boss. Leaders always coach, relies on goodwill, generate enthusiasm, says we, develop people, give credit, accept blame, says let's go. Strength is the unity. But bosses are completely different. They demand, they rely on authority. Issue ultimatum, says I, use people, take credit, places blame, say go. My way is only way. Let's say about this slide, what's going to happen here. Look. They have not even changed the tires. It's chaos. Changing the tires, taking a long time. still there, it's not moving. Okay, it's moving now. But see the next slide where there's a difference. They are ready. They are ready well in advance. The vehicle is nowhere. It comes, job done, they move away within seconds. So that's a good team. Remember the art of science. You know the science, so therefore my please invest more on the art. The most inspiring speech I have ever heard is about a man working at Houston. He was approached by he was sweeping, he was approached by news media and asked him what is he doing. He said, I am working to put a man on the moon. He knew the purpose of his work. He worked for a team. The leader gave credit, and therefore he was proud about what he was doing. So positive attitudes and emotional intelligence go in hand because positive attitudes are important for people to know that. What are attitudes? They are a way of thinking or feeling about something. It's a psychological construct and governs our behavior. And Daniel Goleman spoke about emotional intelligence attached to it. It's different from IQ, it's emotional quotient, related to limbic system of the brain, born with or acquired through experience, and it's absolutely essential for leadership. Emotional intelligence makes people self-aware. There's self-regulation, motivation, and empathy, thinking from other side, other person's shoe, has social skills, and they are good leaders. They are self-aware. That's the ability to recognize, understand your own mood, emotions, and drives and the others, understanding their effect on others, and characteristics like self-confidence, reliance, self-assessment, self-deprecating sense of humor. Self-regulation, the ability to control or redirect disruptive impulses and moods. Being non-judgmental, thinking before acting, acting not reacting. The characteristics are trustworthiness and integrity, comfort with ambiguity, openness to change. Motivation, a passion for work beyond monetary returns, energy and persistence. Characteristics are strong drive to achieve, optimism and organizational commitments. Empathy, the ability to understand other person's emotions, skill in treating people according to their emotions, putting yourself in their shoes, and the characteristics are expertise in building and retaining talents and cross-cultural sensitivity. Empathy, the ability to understand is, I said that. Social skills, ability to manage relationships and build networks, ability to find common grounds and rapport. Characteristics are effectiveness in leading change, perseverance, expertise in building and leading teams. Developing emotional intelligence is an individualized approach, and it has component of coaching and mentoring and giving feedback, commitment, experience. So now with all that, let's move. I'm going to talk about no development without research. It's absolutely essential for nations' development. Let's see the research landscape in Sri Lanka. Not empty. There are so many organizations, over 60 research institutions, R&D, industry, and private sector. Among 2% top-ranking scientists of the world, we have more than 30. There's a Ministry of Science and Technology now, international collaborations, international grants come in, media is there, intellectual property is there, Invention Commission is there, National Invention Agency is there, so a lot of resources. Our resolve is to bring this together for an impact for people's benefit, maximizing the strengths and minimizing the weakness. So therefore, we need a third eye awakening. to see the barriers to translating research into policy and practice for nations' benefit. So I'm going to give some reflections from my personal experience. We know that the amount of money in terms of our GDP given for research is very minimum, 0.1% in Sri Lanka, lowest in the region, and it had been going down. We are requesting to increase it from the new government. Why? We have published a special Gaveshana issue. You can read it with details. And there's ample evidence throughout the world that the amount of money in terms of GDP invested on R&D is directly proportional to the development. However, in an ailing economy, it's very difficult to increase it in terms of in the budget. Are there any other options? Yes. Competitive charitable international grants. We have brought millions into this country, millions of pounds, I mean, not rupees. There are a UK Research Council, funding opportunities, Wellcome Trust, Medical Research Council, many. And we need national capacity building programs within the state sector and outside. And removing the shackles of bureaucracy is absolutely essential for that. Are there any other options? Yes. Charity. We are the 8th nation in charitable nation. But like in Britain, you can see these charitable volunteer work at every corner. There's Wellcome Trust. This trust was opened in 1937 with only just 73,000 pounds, but it runs into billions now and give away 700 million a year for research throughout the world. However, remember that money alone cannot make a difference. There are gaps and bottlenecks we should defeat, and therefore the research knowledge should be converted into services and products. Currently, it's a 100-meter sprint, research publications, postgraduate degrees, career development, but it has to be a long marathon. The pattern needs to change to make benefits for people benefit through products and services. And that's the impact. So what is impact? Impact is defined as an effort or change or benefit to the economy, society, culture, public policy or services, health and environment, or quality of life beyond academia. So remember, although you are graduates, postgraduates doing research in state or private universities, excuse me, you need more. And academic achievements outcomes are only one. Cultural, economic, educational, environmental, health, all these are other domains. So research, policy impact for products and service development and implementation. There are bottlenecks. We have to break them. And mostly I believe these bottlenecks are not necessarily physical. There are psychological barriers as well, because we are not tuned into that way of thinking. And I'm happy to say under the Ministry of Education before and now under Science and Technology, there's a research and innovation arm, research institutions collaborating with strategic partnerships and National Innovation Agency. So stakeholder involvement is part of it. It's a crucial pillar, and there's ethical dimension of stakeholder engagement. That means beneficiaries of research like the public should be part and parcel, engaging and supporting research, not just as passive partners. Benefit of stakeholder engagement is visible throughout the world because it improves decision making, improves communication, increase understanding and buying in, great understanding and support for research. And organic farming was a classic example of not doing that. It should happen throughout the research cycle, from identifying research areas, questions, research designs, carrying out research, analysis of results, and publications as well, because public and research participants are experts by experience. It's not only the academic us who are experts. And there should be economic analysis and cost-effective analysis as well, and that's the strategy for implementation. In that wider public, I mean, including the industry and other stakeholders, should be engaged, policymakers, with your research, and particularly politicians as well. And that's the missing link. And we in 2018 actually convened a 5-day conference workshop to develop this proposal on child and adolescent research capacity building program for people who are having childhood mental illness. And we invited parents of caring children with autistic spectrum disorder, methodologists, ethics experts, and journalists, lay ethics committee members, the public, and we came with a proposal, but the parents who were caring for autistic spectrum disorders told us that although it's an important research exercise for us, it's not their priority. So we changed the whole agenda and developed a proposal as they wanted. So that's how strong it is. Again, research just confined to producing papers and PhD thesis is not enough. We need a strong push for culture shift. We have to stop whose responsibility, pointing fingers. Trade unions particularly have a role, professional organizations has a role, education system has a role, public has a role, and politicians have equal, if not more important role. The missing link, therefore, the knowledge exchange, dissemination of research. How to write a lay summary is a skill you should develop because it's a different thing. We do a lot of public appearances using televisions. We publish our trilingual journal. There's a special copy, volume on public and patient involvement and engagement. And research has to be created and produced. And ethics is also part and parcel of this exercise, one of the three pillars. The other side of the coin of the research, we publish a Gaveshana, it's a trilingual journal which is approved by the Ministry of Health, and we have published theme issues like this. The big picture is actually research ethics, particularly in our part of the world. Equality, equity, and justice is important, cultural sensitivity is important, setting the research agenda is important, exploitation, we have to be mindful, particularly in traditional medicine research and data ownership. There was this global forum of bioethics in 2018 in South Africa, which I had the fortune of contributing to in many ways. And in that, we concluded 66 countries that data belongs to where it was collected. There was a heavy presence from Sri Lanka and our part of the world. You can see from these pictures. Making a change together. Now, it's important, I also gave an oration at the Sri Lanka Medical Association, 25 years of research on ethical issues, researching into it. So it's very important we bring in all this to develop a research culture, national research culture, and that's the only way to take this nation forwards by making benefits. So our resolve is making an impact through research, bringing in all these stakeholders together to maximize the strength and minimize the weakness. That's why as Institute for Research and Development in Health and Social Care, which is partnering with King's College London and Keele University, has this vision of three pillars: research, ethics, community involvement and engagement for global health collaborations, and capacity building is a must. Where do we go from here? Start thinking. Think about the impact, shaping practices, influencing policy for research for people's benefit. Time to think. Overall impact beyond academic impact. Will you take the challenge? Everyone in this audience, in this room, listening via Zoom and other social media. This is not one-off. This is an advocacy campaign to be continued throughout. Before the elections we started, we are continuing it after the elections. We need a culture shift beyond political party dimensions. So it's everybody's responsibility to do this. In summary, we have published this special volume like other volumes. There's no development without research. Think about you, that's okay, but think beyond yourself. Beyond academic excellence, we need on the mini a good citizen. Otherwise, the mother Sri Lanka as well as your own mother will be hurt. Here are some thoughts for research scientists. Be passionate and curious. You have to have intellectual independence, strong work ethics, resilience and perseverance, effective communication skills, collaborative spirits working in teams, adaptability and flexibility, ethical integrity and leadership potential with vision and innovation. Think beyond self. Developing these attributes can help young researchers become not only successful in their field, but also influential in advancing scientific knowledge. My message, create research leaders. Success is not a destination, it's a journey. Big journeys begin with small steps. Be cautious, there are stumbling blocks, but let the trees grow taller than you. Team building is the way forward. Invest in developing your research leaders beyond yourself, and success is a story. And I want to thank the IRD staff, all the work behind this, and thank you for listening. Hope I have inculcated some thoughts for make a culture shift, attitude change, making research benefiting people. Thank you very much once again to the organizers for inviting me through Keele University, wearing my hat there, but I'm also the director of the Institute for Research and Development in Health and Social Care, which we founded 25 years ago with one single room and few academics. Thank you again. Thanks. As I always say, it is always teamwork. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your impressive presentation. Wishing you the very best in your future endeavors. Now, it's time to appreciate the invited guests for their valuable thoughts and invaluable time they spend with us. I would now like to invite our esteemed President, Captain Ajit Piris, Senior Consultant, Admiral Thisara Samarasinghe, Vice Presidents, Captain Peshala Medagama and Mrs. Taranga Gamage, and Consultant, Academic Affairs and Research, Dr. Ajit Maduraperuma, accompanied by Symposium Chair, Mrs. Suranji Nadishani, on stage to present the tokens of appreciation to our keynote speaker.
We now move on to the token of appreciation ceremony.
Now, I invite our guest of honor, Senior Professor Ranjit Disanayaka, to please come forward and receive their token of appreciation. So this is time to appreciate the hard work which make CIRS 2024 successful. We now move on to honoring our faculty representative.
I kindly invite on stage Ms. Anuttara Dikkovita, Faculty of Computing.
Ms. Shehara Gunawardana, Faculty of Health Sciences.
Ms. Chatuni Jayavira, Faculty of Humanities and Education.
Mr. Wasaba Samaratunga, Faculty of Engineering and Technology.
Ms. Thisarika Edirivira, Faculty of Management and Social Sciences.
Ms. Keshani Abhinarayana, Faculty of Maritime Sciences.
Mr. Dhanushka Agalakada, Faculty of Marine Engineering.
Mr. Keshan Suryarachi, Faculty of Science.
I kindly request you all to remain on the stage. Hasaranga, we should be grateful to the people who made this happen. They are charming gardeners who worked tremendously to make this CIRS 2024 bloom. Next, we would like to honor our symposium chair, Ms. Suranji Nadishani, for their exemplary leadership and unwavering support. I kindly invite Ms. Suranji Nadishani to come forward and accept this special token of appreciation.
We would also like to recognize the invaluable contributions of our symposium co-chair, Mr. Dishan Dhamme Arachi. I kindly invite Mr. Dishan Dhamme Arachi to come forward and accept this token of appreciation.
Thank you all. Every ending is a new beginning. We just don't know it at the time. With this, we have come to the end of the inaugural ceremony of CIRS 2024.
Since there are many more people behind this generous event who need to be appreciated, I would like to invite Mrs. Madhuvanti Utpala, Symposium Secretary of CIRS 2024, to deliver the vote of thanks.
Good morning, everyone. As we come to the conclusion of this insightful and enriching event, CINEC International Research Symposium 2024, it is my honor to deliver the vote of thanks on behalf of the organizing committee, Faculty of Computing. First and foremost, I wish to thank Chair Senior Professor Nalin De Silva for your inspiring keynote address. Your valuable insights have significantly contributed to the success of this event and have provided us with much to reflect upon. Thank you, sir. A special thanks to our guest of honor, Senior Professor Ranjit Disanaika, for your valuable speech delivered. We are all inspired by your great words. I extend our gratitude to the President, CEO of CINEC Campus, Captain Ajit Piris, for inspiring and guiding us throughout this organizing journey. Your thoughts and discussions have been incredibly informative and valuable to us. Thank you very much, sir. A heartfelt thanks to our distinguished committee of senior management, deans and heads of departments for their immense support provided us through this journey. Thank you very much all. Our gratitude also goes to Dr. Alan Richardson, representing the Keele University, United Kingdom, for delivering an informative note to this main event. We all encouraged by your speech, Doctor. A heartfelt thanks goes to our special invitee, Professor Athura Sumitipala, for delivering a valuable speech through online platform by successfully bridging the distance between us today. Thank you, sir. Our gratitude also goes to Professor Prima Fernando, representing University of Peradeniya, for attending to the event. Thank you, sir. Dear faculty and department representatives, we are truly lucky to work with you as a wonderful team. You have given us incredible support by taking on all the challenges and hardships and worked with us to make this event a success. You have showed us the excellent way of handling the responsibility. Thank you for your support. Heartfelt thanks to all the reviewers, panel members, and plenary speakers for sharing your knowledge and guiding our students to the correct path. We really appreciate your valuable contribution to our students. Thank you. To the technical and administrative support teams, thank you for ensuring that all our sessions ran seamlessly, both in person and virtually. Your expertise and dedication are greatly appreciated. A special thanks goes out to Mrs. Suranjana Deshani, Associate Dean, Faculty of Computing. You have been a pillar of strength to us through this journey of organizing the event. I also wish to thank the co-chair, Mr. Dishan Damearachi, for being the driving force behind CIRS 2024. A special thanks also goes out to Dr. Ajit Madhura Peruma, Consultant, Academic Affairs and Research, for your advices and valuable contribution. Thank you, sir. To our dedicated organizing committee of Faculty of Computing, thank you for your tireless efforts and meticulous planning. Your hard work behind the scenes has ensured the smooth execution of the event. A special thanks to our participants and attendees for your active engagement and enthusiasm. Your presence and contributions have enriched the discussions and made this event a collaborative success. As we conclude, I hope this symposium has sparkled meaningful ideas and collaborations. Let us take the knowledge we have gained today and put it to good use in our respective fields. Have a great day and product technical sessions ahead. Thank you.
Ms. Madhuvanti Utpala, kindly remain on the stage, please. Next, I would like to invite Dr. Captain Ajit Peiris, Admiral Tisara Samarasinghe, Ms. Tharanga Gamage, Ms. Suranjana Deshani on the stage, please. Next, we would like to express our gratitude to our Symposium Secretary, Ms. Madhuvanti Utpala, for their dedication and support. I kindly invite Ms. Madhuvanti to come forward and accept this token of appreciation.
Thank you all. Every ending is a new beginning. We just don't know it at the time. With this, we have come to the end of the inauguration ceremony of CIRS 2024. May the winds of fortune blow in your favor. Have a pleasant day.
Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the national anthem.
Plenary speeches will commence at 11 a.m. followed by technical sessions. Thank you all.